Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Shares of Enphase have lost nearly 60% of their value since late 2022, and I'm seeing a lot of comments about people interested in buying this, talking about it like it's a value stock. But I don't think that's the case today, and what investors need to understand is the dynamics in the solar industry and how supply, demand, and pricing works there. I want to go through some of that today and why it's still time to be a little bit cautious with Enphase Energy. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And if you like this video, check out my newsletter, Asymmetric Investing, in the show notes. I'll start with an overview of Enphase Energy's metrics. This is a look at the stock price. If you were not familiar with Enphase Energy back in the late 2010s, the company almost went bankrupt and was saved by a private equity firm, and then obviously had a great run since then, partnered with SunPower, who became a critical distribution partner for the microinverters. So that's a lot of the run that we've seen here. But recently, obviously, the stock has fallen back. Now, the price to earnings multiple on a trailing 12-month basis is still over 30. Enterprise value to sales, over nearly 6. So this is still an expensive stock on a backward-looking basis. I want investors to keep that in mind, that this is not a stock that's trading for a single-digit price to earnings multiple. It's not a value stock at all right now. Now, Wall Street apparently thinks there's still growth to be had because fiscal year 2024 and 2025 estimates are up, but there's reason to be cautious about that. And the reason to be cautious comes down to the installers that are actually putting solar on people's roofs. And this is most of what Enphase Energy does, is solar that goes on roofs. Installers like SunPower and Sunrun, who are the biggest publicly traded companies installing solar, have said they've had a lot of challenges with demand because they need to raise their prices to be competitive in a higher interest rate environment. Solar energy is generating value over 20 or 30 years. And so the contracts that they're signing are 20 or 30 years in length. They can then finance those cash flows to get upfront payment to pay for solar installations, which are typically $0 down. But as interest rates go up, the value of the financing goes down. So that means that the upfront cash that they can get is lower than it was. Your options are to reduce your costs or increase your prices. As prices have gone up, demand from customers have gone down. What does that mean? Right now, we're seeing that those installers are doing less volume and less growth than they anticipated previously. So that's going to flow its way down to a company like Enphase Energy. The other thing that they're going to do is put pricing pressure on their suppliers. There's only a few components you can actually put pricing pressure on. And Enphase Energy and that microinverter is actually generating more revenue per watt than the solar panel that it's attached to. That sounds crazy because the inverter is just turning electricity from DC to AC. But given where we are currently with the market dynamics, a solar panel is less expensive on a per watt basis than the microinverter. And those solar panel companies are effectively commodities at this point. So there's not a lot of pricing pressure that they can put on the solar panel manufacturers. The natural point of pressure that you can put is on a company like Enphase Energy. That will put pressure on margins. So what we may see is growth slow or potentially go negative and margins come down. So that means that the bottom line is hit in two places for Enphase Energy. Now, I still think the company is in a valuable position because you're essentially the brains of the solar system. But if the economics don't work at your previously high price point and those high margins, then economically, the future of your bottom line is not as good as it used to be. We also haven't seen a lot of competition come into the market. And this is the thing that I'm going to be watching closely over the next few years. Enphase Energy and SolarEdge have actually had a pretty good hold on the market, and there have not been a lot of competitors from particularly Asian suppliers who have said they've been coming for years, but we have not seen that manifest in the market. Does that end up being the case more? Are companies willing to give up a little bit in efficiency if you get a product that's lower cost? There's reason to think that that might be the case. And it comes from the solar industry, where in the early 2010s, a company like SunPower was making the most efficient solar panels in the world, higher quality than their commodity Chinese competitors, but they were essentially run out of the market because suppliers in China and other Asian countries could actually produce solar panels at a much, much lower price. They were also willing to sell products effectively at a loss. So do we see that same dynamic in the inverter industry? We haven't seen that manifest yet, but that would be the risk, is that all of these pressures that I'm pointing out compound when you get competitors that are coming in and saying, hey, we will sell you a product for an even lower price than Enphase can compete with. So Enphase Energy has been hit really hard over the past 9 months or so from a stock standpoint, but don't be surprised to see that the bottom is even lower than it is today. And you can go back to the late 2000s and early 2010s in the solar industry, look at a chart of SunPower, First Solar, any of the major solar companies. As commodity competitors came into the market and there was more price pressure on the products that they were making, margins dropped and net income dropped as well. So that's something to keep an eye on, and the reason that I'm still staying out of Enphase Energy. But what do you think about the stock and the value you're getting today? Leave your comments in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.